Last night, my doorbell camera recorded something, and if you saw it without context, you'd probably call it a glitch, a shadow, bad signal, compression blur. But it wasn't, because the woman standing across the street at 2:13 in the morning was reported missing 6 months ago, and everyone thinks I killed her. Her name was Emily Carter. She was my fiance. Warm laugh, restless hands. The kind of person who opened windows in winter because she liked the honest version of the air. We lived in a small house at the edge of town, where the streetlights were too far apart and the cornfield across the road looked black at night, like an ocean that had decided to stop moving. Nothing ever happened there. That's what people said. That's what I believed. The night Emily disappeared felt painfully ordinary. We ate takeout on the couch. She stole my fries. We watched some forgettable crime show and made fun of how every detective on TV somehow solved murders in 42 minutes. She went upstairs first. I stayed behind, rinsed plates, checked my phone, turned off the downstairs lamp. Then I went to bed. When I woke up, she was gone. No note, no text, no sound in the night that I could remember. Her phone was still on the charger. Her car sat in the driveway. Her wallet was in the kitchen drawer where she always dropped it. Even her shoes were still by the front door. It was as if she had stepped out for 1 second and the world had closed behind her. At first, the police treated me like a grieving fiancé. Calm voices, careful questions. They searched the house, the yard, the field, the ditch along the road. Neighbors formed little groups and called her name into the dark like that could undo whatever had happened.
Check the ditch again.
Then the tone changed.
Anything
Where
yet?
were you between midnight and 6? Did you two argue?
Sarah!
Why didn't the neighbors hear anything?
Has anyone seen
Why are there
her?
no
We
signs
have
of
to
forced
find her.
entry? And that's the thing about
Explain this
suspicion.
discrepancy right here.
It doesn't need proof.
And what about this
It just
entry?
needs an empty
Why
space
did you lie to
and
us?
someone convenient to place inside it. I was the last person to see her. So eventually, I became the story. People stopped waving. At the grocery store, conversations died when I turned into an aisle. Someone spray-painted "liar" across my mailbox in red. A woman from 2 houses down physically pulled her son closer when I passed by on the sidewalk, as if guilt had a smell, as if it could spread.
God, again!
Months
Close
passed.
to me.
Search parties shrank. Reporters vanished.
What's wrong?
The police stopped calling every week, then every month. Emily's face, once pinned to telephone poles and shared across local Facebook groups, slowly sank beneath newer tragedies. But I stayed. Partly because I couldn't afford to leave. Mostly because if she came back, even after everything, I couldn't bear the thought of her finding an empty house. So I lived there like a ghost renting a body. A month after she disappeared, I installed a doorbell camera. Not because I expected it to solve anything, because I needed something objective, something cold, mechanical, a witness that couldn't be bullied by rumor or memory. In another century, people might have trusted footprints in ash or candle wax on a lock. Now we trust pixels, recordings, timestamps, tiny electric eyes above the front porch. I told myself it was for peace of mind. That was the lie. The truth? I was terrified of what I might miss next. Then came last night, 2:13 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand with the motion alert. I almost ignored it. The screen barely lit the room, and for a second, I considered rolling over and going back to sleep. But I was already awake, and I had that feeling. You know the one. The old animal fear. The sense that something has entered the room before your mind can explain it. I opened the app. At first, it showed exactly what it always showed. The front porch, the empty road, the dark line of the cornfield across the street. The wind was light, the image grainy. Everything looked flat and harmless. Then I saw her. She was standing at the edge of the cornfield, directly across from my house. Not walking, not stumbling out of the rows, not approaching the porch, just standing there, facing straight toward the camera, toward me. I felt every muscle in my body lock at once. It was Emily. Even through the low-resolution blur, I knew her shape, the slope of her shoulders, the fall of her hair, that slight tilt of the head she always had when she was listening, like the world was never speaking quite loudly enough. But something was wrong. She wasn't moving at all. Not shifting, not breathing, not brushing hair from her face. Nothing. She stood so still, she looked copied and pasted into the frame. I rewound the footage, watched it again, and that's when I noticed the detail that made my blood go cold. She didn't walk into view. She was already there when the clip began. The camera only records when motion triggers it, meaning whatever made the system wake up wasn't her stepping into frame. She had already been standing there, possibly for minutes, possibly longer, watching the house. I switched to live view. She was still there. Same distance, same posture, same impossible stillness. There's a moment in every nightmare where reason puts up one last fight. Mine sounded like this. Maybe it's someone else. Maybe it's a prank. Maybe grief is turning shape and shadow into a face I want too badly to see. So I did the stupidest possible thing. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen counter and went outside. The porch boards creaked under my feet. The air was colder than it should have been, wet and metallic, like the smell before a storm. And the street, the whole street felt wrong. Too silent. No insects, no distant car. Even the corn looked frozen. I stepped off the porch. She didn't move. Halfway down the driveway, my breathing sounded too loud. I remember that clearly. Each inhale felt like an offense, like I was making noise in a place where noise didn't belong. I crossed the road. The beam of the flashlight shook in my hand and slid over her clothes. A pale shirt, bare feet in the dirt, mud on her ankles. Her hair hanging loose and damp, like she had come in from rain, even though the sky was clear. And then I got close enough to see her face. It was Emily, but it was also a version of Emily no memory of mine could fully accept. Her skin was colorless, not dead-looking exactly. Worse, empty, as if all the warmth had been edited out of her. Her eyes were too open, wide and glassy, focused somewhere behind me rather than on me. Her lips were dry, cracked. "Emily?" I whispered. For 1 second, I thought I saw recognition flicker there. Relief hit me so hard it hurt. Then she smiled, slowly, far too slowly. The corners of her mouth lifted in tiny increments, like someone learning how a smile works by studying photographs. and she said, very softly, "You weren't supposed to stay." I froze because her lips moved, but the voice didn't come from in front of me. It came from behind me, close enough to feel. I spun around so fast, the flashlight being blurred into streaks across the dark. There was nothing there, just my house at the end of the driveway. Dark windows, still porch, front door shut. I turned back. Emily was gone. No footstep, no rustle in the corn, no shape running into the field. She was simply no longer standing where she had been, as if the darkness had folded and taken her with it. I ran. I don't remember deciding to. Suddenly, I was sprinting across the street, tripping on the curb, fumbling my keys even though the door was unlocked, slamming it behind me hard enough to shake the frame. Then I checked the whole house. Kitchen, hall closet, laundry room, upstairs bathroom, bedroom, guest room, crawl space door. Nothing. No broken window, no muddy prints, no sign of anyone. I stood in the middle of the living room, heart hammering so violently it blurred my vision, and told myself the same thing over and over. You imagined part of it. Stress, trauma, lack of sleep. You saw someone. That's all. Someone who looked like her. The voice echoed weirdly. Panic twisted the rest. Then I checked the footage again, and that was when everything collapsed. The recording still showed her standing across the street, still motionless, still facing the house. Then, just before the moment I stepped onto the porch with the flashlight, the camera angle caught something at the very edge of frame. My front door, opening from the inside, just a few inches, slowly, then stopping, like someone inside the house was easing it open carefully to watch me walk out. I stared at the timestamp, compared it with the app log, the live feed, the motion alert. It matched exactly. The door opened while I was outside in the road, standing in front of Emily, which meant if that was really her across the street, someone else had already been inside my house, and maybe still was. I should have called the police right then. Instead, I made another mistake. I checked the older footage. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. Desperation. That ugly human need to turn horror into a sequence you can understand. So I scrubbed backward through the past few nights. Nothing. Then 3 nights earlier, at 3:08 a.m., I found a clip with no alert on my phone. Just a saved fragment in the cloud. A system glitch, maybe. The porch empty. The road empty. The cornfield dark. And for one frame, one single frame, someone was standing directly beside my front door. Too close for the camera to capture the whole body. Just a shoulder, part of a cheek, and one eye, open impossibly wide, looking in. I nearly dropped the phone. That was the first time I thought this might not have started with Emily disappearing. Maybe it started earlier. Maybe the camera hadn't been installed to catch what came after. Maybe I had installed it too late. I barely slept. At dawn, I drove to the police station with my phone clenched so hard my palm was aching. The desk officer recognized me immediately. That told me everything about how this town still saw me. When Detective Ruiz came out, she looked exhausted before I even spoke. She had worked Emily's case at the beginning, back when it was still active,
This won't bring her back.
back when she still called me by my first name instead of
Maybe
Mr.
not,
Harlow.
but it's all we have
I
left.
showed her the footage.
You need to see this
She
video
watched
right now.
once,
It proves everything I'm saying.
then again.
All right. I'm
Her
playing it.
face didn't change much, but I saw the small things. The tightening around the eyes. The way her thumb stopped tapping the table. The half-second pause before she set my phone down. Could be altered, she said. It's not.
Go ahead, call him.
Could be someone impersonating her. At 2 a.m, barefoot in a field. She didn't answer. Then I told her about the voice, about the door opening from inside, about the older frame with the eye by the porch. That got her attention. A patrol car came with me back to the house.
I told you I didn't see anything.
Then
Why
another.
Are you harassing me?
They searched every room,
Sir,
the
calm
attic,
down and step away
the
from the
crawl
door.
space, the yard,
clear in the crawl
the
space.
field.
Moving to the
They
living room.
found nothing
Nothing in the attic.
human.
Check that bedroom.
But in the hallway closet beneath the stairs, tucked behind a stack of old board games and a winter coat Emily hadn't worn since January, one officer found a narrow panel in the wall that had been cut and screwed back into place from the inside. Behind it was a space no wider than a coffin, and inside that space, they found strands of blonde hair, a cracked phone charger, and Emily's engagement ring. The same ring I had searched for until my fingers bled. Suddenly, the looks changed. Not all the way. Not enough to erase 6 months of suspicion, but enough. Enough for silence to enter the room. Enough for Detective Ruiz to stop writing me down as the most likely answer and start asking a new question. Who had access to the house? The list was short. Family, a contractor from 2 years ago. One former owner no one could locate.
Hold on.
A few
If
neighbors
you
who
were
had helped
home,
us
how did
move
your prints
furniture.
get on the bag?
People I knew. People who knew
These
our
keys
layout,
open the back door, Mr.
our
Davis.
habits,
And
the
this
blind
photo places
spots.
you at the scene just
The
hours
investigators
before she
tore through
disappeared.
records and old permits. What they uncovered was strange, then disturbing, then almost impossible to hear without feeling your stomach turn. Our house had been renovated 4 times in 30 years. Each owner had stayed less than 2 years, and in 2 of those cases, a woman had vanished. Different decades, different circumstances. No charges, no bodies, just missing person reports that had gone cold like forgotten ashes. It sounded absurd, like one of those urban legends people tell because they need evil to have architecture. A murder house, a hidden watcher, a predator living in walls. Except there was the panel, there was the ring, and there was my camera. By evening, officers had torn open more sections beneath the stairs and along the upstairs plumbing wall. They found crawl spaces connecting impossible little pockets inside the house, tight passages between studs, old vents widened by hand, places where a thin person could move silently if they knew how. That night I didn't stay there. I checked into a motel on the highway with 2 locks on the door and every light on. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt worse. Because once you know someone may have been inside your home, watching you eat, sleep, grieve, break apart, you start revisiting every memory with new teeth. That creak on the stairs, that missing kitchen knife I blamed on myself, the nights I woke up convinced I'd heard breathing and told myself it was a dream. What if it never was? Around 11:40 p.m., Detective Ruiz called. They had found something else in the house. Hidden inside the wall cavity behind our bedroom closet was a small digital recorder wrapped in plastic. Old, but functional. On it were dozens of audio files. Most were static, scraping, pipes ticking, muffled footsteps. Then there were the voices. Mine, Emily's, us talking in bed, laughing in the kitchen, arguing once over wedding expenses, living, recorded from inside the walls. And on the newest file, dated the night before Emily disappeared, there was a sound at 2:17 a.m.
Bills are piling up, Emily. What are we
Bedroom
gonna do?
floorboards
Don't blame
creaking,
this on me. You know our
a
situation.
soft
It was.
rustle,
We're drowning here.
then Emily's sleepy voice saying, "Do you hear that?" 3 seconds later, another voice answered, from very close to the microphone. Not mine. A whisper, male, calm, almost amused. "He won't wake up." I couldn't breathe when Ruiz played it for me. Then came the last 10 seconds of the file. A muffled thump, dragging,
You thought this wedding would make it all disappear.
silence.
But the truth
The room
is,
around
I
me,
know what you did.
the motel room,
And now everyone
the
else will
cheap
too.
lamp, the patterned curtains, felt suddenly unreal, as if I were listening from underwater. "Did you find him?"
They're not
I
gonna stop
asked.
until they find you.
There was too long a pause. "No," Ruiz said. "But we found where he's been sleeping. Under the house. There was a chamber beneath the crawl space, hidden under a false patch of earth and insulation. A lantern, food wrappers, water bottles, newspapers, women's jewelry, notes, dates, and one photograph. Not of Emily, of me, sleeping." That was the moment fear became something cleaner and sharper than panic. Panic is chaos. This was clarity. This was understanding that for 6 months, maybe longer, I had not been haunted by an absence. I had been sharing my home with the reason for it. The police set surveillance around the property immediately. They thought he might return for whatever he'd left behind. "Predators do that," Ruiz said. "They circle, they revisit, they need the scene, they need the ritual." I wanted to believe that meant control was back in their hands. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A video message. No text, just a file. My hands shook as I opened it. It was recorded in darkness, low light, moving slowly. For a second, I couldn't understand what I was seeing. Then the shape resolved into wallpaper. A framed photo. The angle of a lamp. My bedroom. The video moved closer to the bed, to me, asleep. It was recent, not months old. Recent enough that the book on the nightstand was the one I'd started last week. Recent enough that the glass of water I'd left there was half full. Then, just before the clip ended, the camera turned toward the mirror across the room. And reflected in the mirror, standing in the doorway behind the person filming, was Emily. Pale, still, watching. I played it 3 times before I noticed the detail that made Detective Ruiz go quiet. Emily wasn't in the room. She was in the mirror only. The police traced the number. Disposable phone. Dead end. By midnight, they moved me to a different location and told me not to contact anyone, not even neighbors, without checking first. I asked the question I had avoided all day. "Do you think Emily's alive?" Ruiz looked at me the way people do when truth and mercy no longer overlap. "I think," she said carefully, "that someone wants you to believe she is." That should have been the answer. It should have closed the door. But at 2:13 a.m. tonight, exactly 24 hours after the first alert, my phone buzzed again. Different location, different camera, Not my house. The motel hallway. The live feed from a temporary police camera they had mounted outside my room. The corridor was empty. Yellow light. Ice machine at the far end. Nothing moving. Then a woman stepped into frame. Barefoot. Hair hanging damp around her face. She stopped outside my door and looked directly into the lens. This time, she smiled immediately,
Police! Get out of the way!
and she raised one finger to her lips. Shh. The officers outside my room kicked the door in before I could even move. They searched the hallway, the stairwell, the parking lot, the service exits. No one. Nothing. No sign she had ever been there. But when they reviewed the camera footage a second time, the hallway was empty. Completely empty. No woman, no movement. Just me inside the room, staring at my phone, backing away from the door like I had seen a ghost. So now you understand the problem. If Emily is dead, someone is using her face. If Emily is alive, someone took her. And for some reason, she came back only to warn me or threaten me. And if what I saw wasn't Emily at all, then I still don't know who whispered behind me in that field. I do know this. The police no longer think I killed her. The town doesn't look at me the same way. But that isn't relief, because being innocent doesn't make you safe, especially when the camera keeps recording things that disappear by morning. And about 10 minutes before I started telling you this story, I got another alert from my front porch. The house is empty, sealed by police. No one should be there. But on the thumbnail, there's someone standing right in front of the door. Too close to see the face. Just a shoulder, part of a cheek, and one eye. Open wide, looking in. If you want the next part, subscribe. And tell me this in the comments. If your camera showed you, the person everyone says is gone, would you go outside and look for yourself?